This conference will now be recorded.
For the newcomers like Avanti and Shamim, okay. And today once again we will go for demo of DevOps. Just old students like Srinu and who is the last student? Neka Ebo. Please bear with me for today.
Okay.
So,
yeah, sure.
So before I start the session, let me introduce myself. Okay, I am the trainer for DevOps and all cloud courses. My name is Shivakumar. Okay, I have 19 years of experience. I started my career in the month of June 2003. Okay, so I worked as a Oracle DBA for the past 7 years. I have been on these technologies, DevOps. Presently, I am also working on AWS, Azure DevOps, Azure, and AWS cloud platforms. Okay. So this is my brief introduction. So when coming to course particulars, this may be 7 weeks, 7 to 8 weeks. Okay. Maximum is 8 weeks. Okay. It is 7 weeks actually. So in this course, we are going to cover 8 tools: Git, Maven, Jenkins, Terraform, Ansible, or Chef. If possible, I will also take Chef. Okay. Docker, Terraform, Packer, Docker, and Kubernetes. So when coming to prerequisites for this course, no coding is required. Okay. So since we are going to practice all tools on AWS platform, okay, we have to have an AWS free tier account. For that, you have to have Linux fundamentals like file creation commands, directory creation, okay, and enabling password-based authentication. Anyhow, we are going to take one session, 1 or 2 sessions on Linux. Don't worry about that. Linux fundamentals, and one AWS free tier also required, free tier account which is valid for 12 months. Okay, so to create this AWS free tier account, okay, you need to have one valid mobile number, okay, debit card, and email ID. Email ID you can use from either Google or Hotmail also. You can use anyone. Okay, you know how to create AWS account very well. Okay, I need not to tell. Okay, so you log in into this console.aws.amazon.com. Okay, this is a link to create. Okay, I will show the link. Here you will get an option. Okay, now I am inside the account. I will sign out from this. Okay, you are seeing this option, create a new AWS account. Okay, here you have to submit your details like email address, okay, password, confirm password, AWS account name. So these details you have to submit. Okay, in the next page, okay, they will be asking whether you wanted to use this account for commercial purpose or personal. Don't select commercial, okay, because if you select commercial, you cannot ask AWS people for waiving of the bill, okay, in the future, because they will treat that you are using this account for commercial purpose. Don't select that, select personal. Okay, if you select personal, okay, in the future you can ask AWS people for waiving of the bill. Okay, so that is the thing you have to remember. Okay, so this is something like within no time your account will be activated. Okay, so initially $2 will be cut for verification of your account. So after that $2 will be refunded. That is the story of AWS free tier accounts. Now every session is a live session only. We are going to use AWS cloud platform. Okay, so you may be having doubt whether we learn AWS. We don't learn AWS. Okay, we use AWS. We use the AWS virtual machine storage. Okay, networking. Okay, to practice our DevOps tools. Okay, so but the DevOps AWS course is completely different. Completely different. DevOps is also completely different. We use AWS virtual machines. We use AWS. Okay, so to install our DevOps tools. Okay, so every session is live session only. Every session is recorded. So once we finish the session, okay, we upload the recordings in Google Drive. Okay, that will be shared with you. Okay, I will also write notes every day. Okay, apart from running notes, I will also upload some material. Okay, some PDF files and some other material I will post in Google Drive. At the end of the course, we will post sample resumes and interview questions also at the end of the course. That is. And one more important thing I have to say. Here I have told 8 tools, right? Okay, yeah, there is no starting and ending for this course. Okay, actually 5 years ago I started this batch. Okay, this is never ended. Okay, so yeah, every time I start a new tool, new students will come. Okay, so tomorrow we will start Docker. Okay, when I start Docker, okay, new students will come. Okay, Docker Kubernetes will be completed, and when I start Git, okay, I will take new students again because there is no link between one tool and another tool. Okay, so actually to learn Jenkins, we have to know other tools first, because from Jenkins we are going to call Terraform, Packer, okay, Docker and Kubernetes. You have to know how you can how you can call these tools from Jenkins. That is why. So you better to learn all other tools before Jenkins. Okay, so the next week, that means from Monday onwards we start the Docker. Okay, so you complete Git again. Our cycle is repeated. Git, Maven, Jenkins, Terraform, Packer, Ansible. So when Ansible is completed, your course is completed. Okay, it is not like that. Okay, when your course is completed, you cannot come. You can come. Okay, till you get satisfaction. That is, I am not going to object you. Yeah, when coming to our session timings, 6:45 a.m. IST. Okay, so presently it is I think 1.5 hour. 1.5 hour means 7:15, right? 7:15 p.m. 8:15, sorry, 8:15 p.m. CST. 9:15 p.m. EST. Okay, from Monday onwards, actually daylight savings are coming, right? From Monday onwards, your timings will be like this: 7:15 p.m. CST, 8:15 p.m. EST. Okay, if you are in Pacific zone, you are in PST. What are the equivalent timings? This is my time. Let me check. 6:45 a.m. IST. 2 PST. Present it is 6:15. From Monday onwards, what is the time? What is the equivalent time? Can anyone tell if you are in PST? I think Shamim in PST, right? Shamim, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I actually the on Sunday the daylight saving is ending. So there is a difference from New York time and our time will be like 2 hour difference, from Monday.
2
So
hours.
whatever, 2 hour difference. So I'm in Arizona, so we will be in Mountain Standard Time. And California, I think there is like 1 hour difference with us, and California there is 1 hour difference.
Yeah. So what is your timings?
Right now, my time is 6:36 right now. 6:36.
Yeah, from
right.
Monday. From Monday, what is this time? What is the equivalent time of this?
Either 1 hour ahead or 1 hour behind, I guess.
Yeah, presently, okay. Presently, let me write this 6:45, 6:15 p.m. Okay, this is 6:15. Present time is this one, 6:15 p.m.
Okay,
This is PST.
PST. So my time would be like
This is, if it is MST,
PST
7:15.
10:15. Okay, okay.
I think Avanti in MST, right?
Yes, I'm in from next week onwards it will be like for you if it is 6:15, for us it will be 5:45.
Yours is 5:45.
Yeah, if it is 7:15 then ours is 6:45.
Yes. Okay.
At what time you will start class next week?
Yeah, this
From
one.
Monday?
This is my time. IST.
Okay, then for us it is 6:15 p.m.
6:15 p.m. Right?
Yeah, next week.
Yes. Let me write here.
Yeah, that's why I requested for time change. Yeah. It's okay, Shivakumar. Just give us Indian Standard Times. IST will manage.
Because converting to 4 timings means it is not possible for me. Okay.
Yeah. It is truly confusing. Yeah.
Okay, my time is 6:45 because anyhow my time is not changed, right? I
Yeah.
have to look after many things.
Yeah, it's okay. Just specify IST. We'll look into it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, have you watched recording, Avanti?
Pardon? What?
Have you watched recording yesterday? I have shared you Google Drive, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now, for any DevOps engineer, okay, some roles and responsibilities, some goals are there. Okay, so DevOps engineer goals. Sorry, there is a typo here. So, what are the goals of a DevOps engineer? The very primary role is to reduce the cost. To reduce the cost, okay, to the company. Okay, before that, let me write other thing. To reduce the time. To reduce the time to deliver the software. This is a primary goal. And second important goal of a DevOps engineer is to provide infra. Okay, to provide infrastructure to their team members. And the final goal of a DevOps engineer is to reduce the cost. To reduce the cost to the company. Okay, so we don't write code in the reality. Actually, code is written by developers. Okay, so it can be any language like Java language, .NET, Python, okay, Ruby, whatever it may be. Okay, we don't write any code. As a DevOps engineer, our responsibility is to create automated pipelines, CI/CD pipelines. So in the reality, whenever first project comes, what happens? Okay, new project comes. Suppose a e-commerce project has come to your organization. Before developer writing the code, many other things are also performed. Okay, like requirement gathering, analysis, okay, estimation of manpower. Okay, many things are going to be happen. But before that, so I don't want to discuss all those phases. So directly I will start from a DevOps engineer. Okay, developer writes the code. Developer writes the code. Okay, yeah, this is the first phase. So whenever developer starts writing code, okay, at the end of the day, what happens? Okay, it is not only single developer, multiple developers will be working on single projects, right? Okay, at the end of the day, they are going to submit code into some area, some tool called version control system. Okay, version control system. Okay, let me explain this. Here, this is, just imagine here, this is a server. Okay, this box is a server. Okay, where exactly several developers will be working together. They will be submitting code into this server. Okay, so this is something like source code management system, or we can also call it as version control system, or we can also call it as code repository. So many popular version control systems are there in the market. Okay, as a part of our course, okay, we are going to use Git. Git is a popular version control system. Okay, why it is popular at the time of Git? We are going to discuss everything. Okay, in Git, actually raw code is available. Raw code. Okay, which cannot be used directly. Which cannot be used directly. Okay, we cannot give this raw code to our customer, right? Now this must be translated. This must be translated into some executable format. This must be translated into some executable format. Okay, so the executable format is created by a DevOps engineer. Okay, this is my build environment. So in the build environment, we are going to use many tools like MS Build, okay, Python, PyPy, okay, and something like Make tool, MS Build, Maven, and many tools we are going to use. Okay, so this is my build environment. Okay, just for simplicity, just I have given only single box, but in the reality, this is a complex environment. Okay, many servers will be building the artifacts. Here, this is something like artifacts. Artifacts are also called as executables. Okay, so with respect to Java, okay, the artifact generally it is in the form of jar files or WAR files. Jar files or WAR files. Okay, if it is Java .NET application, okay, the artifact generally it is in the form of DLL files or GIF files. This is with respect to .NET. Okay, if it is a C++ application, the artifacts will be in the form of exes. Here we are going to use Make tool. Okay. And what are the various build tools? The various build tools are Maven or ANT for Java projects, MS Build for .NET projects, and Make for C++ projects. Now, here the outcome of a build environment is something like artifact. The artifact cannot be given to my business customer directly. It must be tested first. Okay, whether it is working properly or not. Okay, so to perform that, so this artifact will be deployed into some servers. Okay, this area is called as QA. It is also a complex environment. Okay, so many testers will come into picture. They will conduct tests like Selenium testing, automation testing, functional testing, load balancing. Okay, many other testings are conducted during this phase. Okay, it is not only a single system. We have many servers within this environment. Okay, you can think of each circle is a server. Okay, here we have got 4 servers. Okay, each one is responsible for conducting a different type of tests. So once the testing is performed in QA, what happens? The same is deployed to another environment. So this is also called as UAT. Okay, this is also called as pre-prod. This is final testing. Okay, where several members will be assembled, like stakeholders, okay, product owners and business customers. Many people will be testing this finally. Okay, they are going to test whether this software product is meeting the requirements of the customer, whether it is performing well or not. Okay, so many tests are conducted in the UAT. Okay, so finally, if everything is okay, what happens? The final product will be deployed into some area called production. That means before the product going into live environment, okay, it will be tested finally in the UAT. Okay, pre-prod environment. Finally, the product will be deployed into live environment. So this is actually manual approach. Okay, just for simplicity, just I have given only 5 boxes. Okay, but in the reality, okay, for each and every concept we can draw, okay, individual boxes. Okay, here exactly the product is available. When the product is deployed into production, okay, my end user will be able to use this application. Now actually how my end user will be able to use my application? By using URL, right? URL. Okay, so a URL is given to my end user. By using this URL, my end user, okay, customer URL, end user will be able to use this application. Okay, now where exactly we are going to use all these tools? We have discussed the 8 tools, right? Git, we have Git is there, Maven is there, Jenkins is there, Terraform is there, okay, Ansible or Chef is there, Packer I am going to write here after Ansible, before Ansible, Docker and Kubernetes. Okay, and already we have discussed Git is a version control system. Okay, it is going to manage the code given by developers, submitted by developers. Maven is for creating artifacts. Okay, so Maven is best suitable for object oriented language like Java. And Jenkins, what is the purpose of Jenkins? Where exactly we can use Jenkins? Okay, so we have discussed about this software development cycle, right? Okay, to automate this all these phases. That means whenever my code is deployed into version control system, my Jenkins is going to take the code immediately. It is going to create artifacts. Okay, let me discuss here. Jenkins is for especially creating CI/CD pipelines. So what is meant by CI? CI is nothing but continuous integration. Continuous integration. Okay, so CD stands for continuous delivery or deployment. And whenever my code is available in source code management system, Jenkins is going to take the code, immediately it is going to create artifacts. Okay, now this process is called as continuous integration. The process of pulling the code and immediately creating the artifacts. Okay, this is called as generally continuous integration. Continuous integration. And what is meant by continuous delivery and deployment? Okay, the process of automating, okay, all first 4 phases till this box, okay, till this server. Okay, here this is called as continuous delivery. And if you want to able, that is company policy. It depend. It is not our choice. Okay, so it depends on company rules and regulations. We as a DevOps engineer have to automate all these phases. Now this is something like continuous deployment. Now for doing this activities in an automated fashion, we use Jenkins. Okay. Now how exactly Jenkins is going to work? So Jenkins actually, it is just like a scheduler. It is just like a scheduler. It is going to use all other tools from Jenkins. Okay, suppose I want to copy my artifact from my build environment to QA. So in that case, it may take the help of Ansible or Chef or Docker. Okay, so at the time of real-time examples, I'm going to show everything. Okay, just this is the introduction. Okay, Jenkins is going to call other tools. Okay, suppose I want to create artifact. To create artifact, Jenkins is going to use Maven. Jenkins will take the help of Maven to create artifact. Okay, so when artifact must be created, I want to create artifact. Okay, once for every 2 hours. Like morning 8 a.m. I want to create artifact. 10 a.m. I want to create artifact. 12 p.m. I want to create artifacts like this. Okay, who is going to do that? Jenkins is going to do that. Jenkins is going to create artifacts at a particular point of time. Okay, manually doing these activities becomes very difficult. Manually doing manually creating executables at a particular point of time, like 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 p.m. It is very difficult, right? Okay, but for that I'm going to use Jenkins. Jenkins going to go. Just we are going to specify time. Automatically, the Jenkins will be triggered. Jenkins is going to create artifacts at a particular point of time. And what is the role of a Terraform? Now, here we have discussed 5 boxes, right? 5 boxes means you can think of each box is a server. Each box is a server. Now, to create artifacts and to deploy the artifacts, we need servers, right? We need virtual machines or physical machines. We don't use physical machines nowadays, okay? Because in cloud platform, everything is available as a service. Everything is available as a service. So we don't use any physical machines no more, okay? Now, my intention as a DevOps engineer is to provide servers to other team members so that they will be testing the code, they will be writing the code, okay? Many things they are going to perform. For that sake, we are going to use one tool called Terraform. Terraform is also called as IAC. IAC means infrastructure as code. Infrastructure as code, okay? Now, the purpose of Terraform is to provide infrastructure. Okay, not only Terraform can build. Terraform is actually very powerful tool, so which can build infrastructure in any cloud platform. Not only in AWS platform, it can build infrastructure in AWS cloud platform, Azure, GCP. In many cloud platforms, my Terraform is going to create virtual machines. Virtual machines. Now, as our responsibility is to provide infrastructure, okay, to the team member, I will ask a question that whether you have VMs or not. Why VMs actually? To test the code, to write the code, to deploy the code, to perform many things, they require virtual machines, right? Virtual machines along with some software installation. Along with some software. Along with software installation. Software installation like Tomcat, okay, HTTPD, Apache 2. Okay, we have to configure these softwares also. Not only in single system, sometimes we have to configure in 50 or 60 systems also. Manually doing this activity is very difficult. Okay, for that we are going to use Ansible or Chef. then you may ask one question: what is the difference between Terraform and Ansible? See, Ansible or Chef cannot create virtual machines. Cannot create. Just their responsibility is to configure the softwares, to install the softwares. But if you want to do everything from scratch, if you want to create virtual machines, and if you want to configure the softwares, then we use Terraform. Okay, actually Terraform is very powerful than Ansible or Chef. So Ansible or Chef, just these are called as configuration management tools. Just they can install software, they cannot create systems. But Terraform can do two activities. So it can create systems, it can also install softwares. Okay. So this is a story of Terraform, Ansible or Chef. And why for Docker and Kubernetes? Nowadays we have been using microservices, right? Microservices are very popular nowadays. What is a microservice actually? Microservice is it is just like a small service, okay, which will have a small functionality. So if you think of a large banking application, so banking application will have many small services, right? Like net banking, authentication, authorization, payment service, loans, insurance, many other small services are there. Many other small services are there. So for deploying small services, okay, we don't use virtual machines, we use containers. We use containers. Okay. Now if you think of 10 services like payment service, net banking service, and authentication, authorization, database service, cache service, many other services are there, right? For each and every service, just I want to maintain 10 replicas. Just remember that 10 replicas I want to maintain. Okay, because I want to maintain high availability at any time. Okay, so if I have only one replica, if one replica has gone, what happens here? My end user will not be able to use that application, that service, right? So for that reason, what we are going to do, okay, for maintaining high availability for the application, okay, for each service I am going to maintain 10 replicas. Okay, so that there is a high availability in the configuration. So 10 replicas means how many services are there? Just imagine 10 services are there. 10 services, okay, like payment service, authentication, authorization, okay, net banking, loans, insurance, okay, many other services. 10, just imagine 10 services. Per service I want to maintain 10 replicas. 10 into 10, how many replicas you have to manage? 100, right? But manually managing 100 services means it is not possible. Just for our understanding, I told 100 services, but in the reality, okay, thousands of websites, thousands of microservices are there. Okay, suppose for a banking application we have 100 microservices. 100 into, for each service I have to manage 10 replicas. 100 into 10, how many services, how many replicas you have to manage? 1000. Manually managing 1000 services, it is very difficult, right? So for that we are going to use Docker and Kubernetes. Okay, Docker can have one or two services, but when you want to manage thousands of microservices, we are going to use Kubernetes as an orchestration tool. Kubernetes is called as an orchestration tool. Manually managing of these many services is very difficult. So for that, there must be automated tool. Okay, so whenever one of the container is killed, orchestration tool will come into picture. It will recreate the tool, recreate the replica. Okay, so that kind of things we can perform with Docker and Kubernetes. Let me save this document. Okay, this is about DevOps story. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. Okay, I will clarify your doubts.
Shivakumar, I have a question. Like, is there any difference between delivery and deployment, or they're same basically?
Yeah, delivery deployment, there is a small difference, right? Continuous delivery means, so if you automate till UAT, pre-production, this is called as continuous delivery.
Okay.
And if you perform if you perform automation up to production, this is called as continuous deployment.
Thank you.
Okay, so in the continuous deployment, see, I have included all 5 boxes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is continuous deployment. And whereas in continuous delivery, just I have added only 4 boxes. 4 boxes means starting from SCM to pre-production. Is it clear?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Shavi Kumar, are you going to send us this video?
Yeah, definitely. I will send this video.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so can all of you give your mail ID so that I will share this recording within Google Drive. I will be sharing with you. From Monday, we start Docker and Kubernetes. Before that, let us have 1 or 2 sessions on AWS, because these are prerequisites for DevOps, because how to create a virtual machine, how to enable password based authentication, okay, how to create a user, how to add the user in the sudo group. So these are the essentials before we are going to move to DevOps course. Okay, first we are going to take 1 or 2 sessions on AWS, then directly we are going to move to DevOps.
The DevOps you're going to take, Shavi, is it going to cut across Azure and GCP?
No. Okay, we are going to cover Azure at the time of Kubernetes, because for demonstrating Kubernetes, we have 2 services in Azure. Okay, one is AKS. Okay, only one service. AKS and EKS is there. Okay, AKS is Azure Kubernetes service. EKS is Elastic Kubernetes service. Okay, these 2 services we are going to discuss when we start Kubernetes. Yeah, because these are the ready-made services available for Kubernetes. In Docker and Kubernetes, we are going to discuss Azure and EKS. But we don't. If possible, I will take these services in GCP also. Okay, so in GCP, the service is called as GKE. Okay, GKE means Google Kubernetes Engine. Have you got my points? Yeah, I have shared you. I shared with you Neka Yebo.
Yeah, I didn't get it. Can you
Yeah, watch your email once.
I posted again.
Just open it now. I will show.
Okay. It's
Open your email.
okay.
Just once again I will verify.
Okay. Email is open.